Okay, welcome back everyone. We've just set up and we are here to play once again Final Fantasy XIII on the deep dive. Just needed to adjust the microphone there and everything should be good. So, what are we doing here? For those of you who aren't familiar, what we're doing is we're doing a critical analysis of Final Fantasy XIII, talking about what it does, both as a game, both as a story, and how the elements of it play out to greater or lesser effects. We're going to be talking about very specific things in the game and how they play out. So right now we're not that deep into it, and just got to the point where we now have most of our main cast split into pairs, which gives us an opportunity to see how they function in these kind of situations. As I said last week, it's important that actually, what's the best tide turn of this? As I said last time, it's important that they split them off into pairs because it gives them a chance to showcase exactly how... Ooh, no, we want all of wave strikes. To showcase how these characters function in a setting that allows them to be a little bit more open about what they are as a character. It's a common storytelling technique to limit the extent to which... Oh, you only got that, okay. To limit the extent to which other characters can get to interfere with another character's going-ons. One of the big problems with a lot of big group narratives is that each individual doesn't necessarily get a chance to show their characteristics, doesn't get a chance to show their qualities as much as they would if they were, say, in one person talking to another. In cases like that, it's really more the attitude of the group that overshadows more than the individual characters. And one thing that Final Fantasy is always focused on is its characters. It's about making good characters and giving them a chance to shine. And it's important that they gave these characters a chance to branch off and do their own thing in pairs, because in the short time they were all together, boy did they not get along. Now given that
I knew that would happen.
Now, given that they're all technically on the same page here and that they have to do this thing together, they do eventually come around to getting along with each other. Not until, of course, they come to understand what each one has in common. I think this time I'm taking out this pulse guy first. And just like that, the fight gets so much easier. Oh, hey, look at that. Ow. Oh, got wrecked. That's an interesting thing about the ATB mechanic in this game is your capacity to get staggered, which really throws a wrench into what you're trying to do when it gets interrupted by the other characters. The only issue is it's very difficult to know when it's going to be coming your way, what attacks will or will not stagger you, and you don't really have a lot of defense against it other than using the vigilance and curse status effects to try and reduce the instance of it happening. Really your best way to react to it is mainly just cancel your ATB and allow that to... Cancel your ATB and just reset your attacks. But it's one of those things that makes the Sentinel paradigm so much more useful because you need it in order to... It's one of the best ways to deal with that mechanic. Oh boy, do we have quite the setup here. So as I talked about earlier, one of the important things that the game is doing is kind of forcing you to learn how the mechanics work. And this is probably one of the clearest ways it's doing it, by giving you a situation where it's basically has already told me that you can't necessarily beat all these guys alone. You want to make sure that you take out the big threats first. And could you not? It looks like they're all ganged up on me. I was not expecting that. And we're about to lose. There it is.
Nuts. Finally run out.
And that was when Saz and Vanille died, never to be seen from again. So I didn't expect everyone to turn against us after we killed the Pulsework soldier, so unfortunately that means we gotta save him for last. I mean, I'm still gonna stagger him, don't get me wrong. No, don't attack him. Oh, this is bad. It is a very hectic combat system, and they're dead. And that's bad. Alright, help me up. Oh boy. They're real. Then they just. Okay, we lost already. Oh boy. So as it turns out, even staggering the Pulsework soldier, not a good idea. And that's the advantage of the retry system. There's really nothing too dangerous about the developers putting in very difficult fights like this, because you do have the capacity to try it over and over again without going back to a save point. And that's one of the best changes to gaming that's happened over the past, I don't know, 4 years, I guess, when this started happening. This game is older than I said it was originally, coming out in 2008. But, ooh boy, they still managed to kill that guy, didn't they? Okay. It's okay because we got this coming to save us. Whoop! Oh boy. This is tough stuff. But we're gonna win this time. Yeah, take him out. Yeah, it allows developers to make very difficult content with the idea that if it kills you, you just learn from it and improve for the next time. Rather than having you actively disincentivized from engaging in hard fights simply because you don't want to get that game over. You don't want to lose any progress you've had so far. By having it in a situation where you can freely restart, they can make it as hard as they want. And in the end, it's going to be just fine. Now, I'm remembering how to stagger things properly with these double Ravagers. In that you have to alternate. You and Vanille can't attack at the same time. You got to make sure that you start your attack after Vanille's is finished, so that Vanille has a chance to recover in time for you to stop it from resetting. Not as useful. Now, I mentioned also last time we talked about the itemization system when it was a little bit more relevant. We don't have the ability to customize yet. But, oh boy. But one thing that this game does well in itemization is simply equipping all of the stuff that increases your strength or your magic isn't necessarily the best way to go. It's very rare for there to be a customization system where you don't necessarily want to just equip all of the attack plus. You don't want to equip all the magic damage plus. Okay, so we're gonna kill one of these Pulsewick soldiers, I think. Because I don't want to solo kill both of them. It does incentivize you equipping things that do other effects, that make you better at staying alive, that increase the speed at which you gain attacks. And what that means is that there's so much more.
Leave it to me.
I don't have a Ravager Synergist, that's my problem. Or a Saboteur. Oh well, you're not staggered anymore, so there's really no reason for me to attack you. Hit these guys. And what that means is that you get to experiment with a lot more interesting builds. You get to experiment with different and interesting ways to develop a character and see how certain items and certain combinations of things change the way that it works. And perhaps one of the... Ooh boy, Pulsewick soldiers are winning. And perhaps one of the best ways it comes about is the idea that certain combinations of gear in this game allow you to unlock bonuses based on the combination, like equipping a lot of attack gauge plus things that affect your attack gauge increase your character's attack speed, which is crucial for just maintaining the bonus. And I did that wrong. I don't think we're going to be able to stagger in these conditions. I think we need Ravager Saboteur. This is going to take a while. Come on, get that Deprotect out. There we go. Oh yeah, because Saboteur also works as the bit of like a commando that it extends the stag gauge. So we definitely need to default to that. And that's kind of the benefits of... That's another one of the benefits of making it so that you have these undermine. That's another one of the benefits of having you do this in pairs first rather than giving you access to everyone at once. You get to see a little bit more how the individual classes affect the gameplay. To really try and get you to realize that Saboteur and Synergist are actually really important.
Got left behind, huh?
Leave me alone.
Hey.
Hey, he was just trying to relate to you.
This is pointless. Can't keep up. Can't get home. It's over for me.
Man, for someone named Hope, you gave up real fast.
We'll get you home.
I don't have one. Now that Mom is...
What about your dad?
He doesn't like his dad because he's got father troubles. Because if he didn't, where would the drama be? Honestly, that's basically writing 101. No one has a happy home life. Because people with supportive parents and a loving family tend to not have, problems that need to deal with, tend to not have to go through this character development in order to understand deeper things about their life. They tend to have, a supportive family that helps them. And so basically the unwritten law of fiction is that your character either has problems with their family or loses their otherwise supportive and loving family. Whether it's because they died or because they get separated from them somehow. Because characters with an access to a supportive family would just, have a supportive family to help them out through these situations. And it's a little bit less about growth and independent
We don't need it.
growth and learning how to understand yourself better. And it's because usually these characters are well adjusted. Moral of the story, well adjusted characters, not good for fiction.
Soldiers sealed off the town, and we couldn't get back to Palom Polum.
Now, I'm doing this from memory, but I think Palom and Polum are the twins in Final Fantasy IV, the twin
She was
mages.
frantic. She wanted to get us home.
So it's cool that they named it Palom
She tried
Polum.
to fight. She got tricked by Snow. He used her.
That's not quite how it happened, Hope, but I can see why you thought, why you think that's how it worked. Vanille's not exactly gonna argue about
Why should
this.
I care? He doesn't.
Any father cares.
Sass?
It's nothing. Forget it.
No, Saz revealing his own issues because he has
Come with me, okay?
his own family problems. Not he's the example of the other thing in that he does have the supporting family structure, but through circumstance was separated from them. In that he can't be near his son anymore because of drama that will be revealed later.
Get you back home? Your dad'll be happy to see you.
Spoiler alert, the dad is actually pretty happy to see him. Did Hope actually join the party? Yeah, now I gotta redo all of this stuff. Okay, so do not need Try Disaster as the first one. Ooh, that's a good one. Don't need Vomit. Oh boy. Yeah, Variety is a good one. It's basically all we have, except for we probably want Try Disaster. You know what, let's just put Convalescence in there. There we go. Now we have a strong party. And one that you should, in the later games, definitely not use. Having both Vanille and Hope in the same party, not exactly the best because... well, you have one of two situations. Either your lead is Lightning or Saz, in which case you get this, and then you don't have access to Essential Paradigm. Or... and there's that. So let's quickly buff. While it's staggered. Really just going to be me casting this. And then this. Yeah, you'll either not have a Sentinel if you choose Lightning or Saz as your main, or you choose Snow or you choose either Snow or Fang, in which case you're actually not in a bad situation because Fang would probably be the worst because then you don't have access to a commando. Oh no, then you don't have access. Actually, no, they wouldn't be the worst parties now that I think about it. And to a certain extent, that is the beauty of the game in that there's very few party combinations that really don't work. I don't feel like fighting you. Because everyone has because everyone has access to those three paradigms, you do eventually get a balanced party, basically no matter who you pick.
Isn't that
A warship from Pulse.
You mean they made it this far?
No, of course not. Not during the war, and not since. They might have tried, but none of their forces made it into Cocoon.
Until now.
They only
Haha.
damaged the outer rim. Then the Sanctum's foul sea pushed them back. What'd you, sleep through history?
More or less. So.
Haha, it's
what's
funny
a
because she
ship
slept for
supposed
10,000 years.
Once the war was over, people couldn't live near the rim anymore, in places like the Hanging Edge. So the Foul Sea, they gathered up scrap from Pulse and used it for rebuilding here. This is what was left. A bunch of garbage.
Who'd have thunk? A Pulse foul sea and who knows what mixed in with all the trash.
Literally anyone could have thought that. You can't just pull things from one place to another and not drag stuff with it. That's why Customs doesn't let you bring stuff that could bio-magnify. Oh, magnify was not the right word. They don't let you bring
Stop wandering off and stay where I keep my eye.
different species in so that they can take over the existing flora and fauna. Because the chances of something just sneaking in with a inside of a box really, really high. Not worth the risk. Alright, I'm doing the number one thing you should never do in an RPG, and that's explicitly avoid fights. Because when you do that, it means that you're probably going to be underleveled for whatever's going to come.
Changing gears.
Oh boy. Oh yeah, of course. Actually, like, wrecking me here, so... Oh, I didn't want a vigilance. Good saboteur plays, Saws. Okay, let's actually fight. Just like that, take him out. Oh, you're not doing anything, are you, Vanille? Right, I forgot. Now it's gonna be hard to stagger you. Come on. Alright, hit it, Hope. Nope. Yeah, I forgot that the, until you get... that's the one thing about the coding of the AI in this game, is that they make a couple small little mistakes that are really infuriating in that, as you can see, Vanille is not doing anything. Come on. There we go, we got the stagger out. Saboteurs are really good for extending the chain and actually dealing a decent amount of damage as they put their debuffs on. Unfortunately, the AI is coded that when... It's sort of like a mistake in the coding here. It's that it's a good idea that when they're afflicted with the status effect, the AI will stop trying to inflict that status effect on it further, which is good. You don't want to have them wasting their time inflicting a status effect that the monster already has. That would be frustrating. However, when the monster has all of the debuffs the Saboteur is able to inflict, instead of refreshing the debuffs and continuing to ping them for damage, they will instead just stand there and do nothing. And that's sort of the difference between... That's an interesting line between good and mediocre programming. A good programmer would recognize that simply making it so that they no longer cast a spell when they have the debuff isn't enough, because it gets into a situation where your AI is coded to do nothing in this situation, when really they could be attacking it to increase the stagger gauge, do a small bit of damage, and refresh the debuffs so that the duration is extended so that they last longer. Instead, what they've done is created the situation where now... this is bad. Instead, they've created a situation where now, instead of having... I so need vigilance. Instead of creating a situation where you will continuously... Actually, do we have two Synergist Medic? No, but we got this, and this will work. So instead of having a situation where your Saboteur continues to... Your Saboteur continues to inflict debuffs and participate in combat, extend the chain gauges, now they just stand around doing nothing. Which isn't ideal. They really needed to include a final line where, in case... Oh boy. That's not what I wanted. We need... Good enough. Ooh boy. Off to a bad start. Okay. Let's do this right. Yeah, so instead of having a situation where your units are always doing something, you have a situation where there are situations where... Oh boy. And you died. Take them out. Boy, I'm surprised that we haven't immediately died. Well, the only reason we didn't immediately die is because they attacked me and not... Or they didn't attack me. In fact, everyone but me. Get that Synergist out. And we're gonna lose the chain. That's fine, we can take him out. Ooh, you'll actually use Deep Protect. Just like that, we get a stagger gauge. Ooh. So next time, kill the buffer first. No stars. I deserve that. But we got a nice, how do we use those? Got a nice Aegisul. And it's small things like that that it's interesting that the developers / playtesters missed that bit of information, that the Saboteurs will sometimes not do anything. And it's small mistakes like that that are really crucial for constructing a good a very good game. If that small mistake takes us from, is one of the things that keeps this game from being amazing. Despite the fact that personally I do really like this game. Oh, please keep hope alive. Okay, good. But even if you like something, it's important to recognize the flaws in it. And even if you don't like something, it's important to recognize what it does well. Oh boy. Let's take you out. Perfect. Kind of want to stop you from debuffing the other one before we're staggering it. Oh boy. Let's do this. And the advantage of constantly switching. Easy as that.
I hope snow's all right.
Man, I don't feel like fighting now. Yes, the reason why you don't, generally speaking, when you play RPGs, you don't want to avoid fights like that is because that's your source of experience of drops that you use to improve your character, and intentionally skipping that means that you're not developing as quickly as the game is designed for, because generally speaking, when you're balancing a game, you balance it in such a way where you assume that nice. When you're balancing the difficulty of your fights, the difficulty of your bosses, you have to assume that your player isn't running from every encounter they meet, that they're actually fighting the monsters, they're engaging with them, and they're gaining experience based on the fact that they're fighting and defeating most of the enemies. And so if you don't fight the enemies, you're going to end up weaker than the intended when they test these bosses, when they decide how powerful to make them, and that can really throw a wrench in your ability to pass the combats if you're just not as powerful as they thought you were. Oh, you don't even have shell. It's one of the secondary reasons why when there are random encounters, in this case you can dodge the encounters entirely, but when there's completely random encounters, it's important to go the wrong way first and to actually fight the things that come across your path and don't rely on running too much. Oh. Bye-bye hope. Oh, I can't really change my leaders, can I? I don't have a formation button, do I? Can I change your team members? Well, that's fine. Okay, now we gotta reset all of these, so... Relentless Assault, good. Starting one. What we do want... Oh, we have Smart Bomb. Diversity, Bully. Huge fan of Bully. Gonna have Ruthless though. Gonna swap with Relentless Assault. Actually, no. Relentless Assault to start with is a good idea. And let's put up a Tri-Disaster. Why not? Oh, forgot to do Crystarium, of course. That is one of the, that is a pretty good criticism of the game, is that because it forces you to change your party a lot, it is kind of annoying that you have to redo those paradigms every single time. But it's not the most annoying thing a Final Fantasy game has ever inflicted on its players. The most annoying thing a Final Fantasy game has ever inflicted on its players is when Final Fantasy VIII sends you back in time and doesn't properly switch your junction from one character to another, and now you just have a complete just a complete mess of stats and summonings to switch about, and just everything is brutal at that point. Don't let him do it. Okay. I wonder if I have enough medic paradigms. Smart bomb. Perfect. Oh, not really. I want to not miss assault. There we go. Perfect.
To the victor go the spoils.
And so you get to see when you're doing the difference between doing well and doing poorly is pretty clear to see in this game. It's one thing it shares in common with Final Fantasy XV in that doing well helps you do well, and doing poorly really snowballs against you. Momentum in battle is essential to quick and good combats. The ability to maintain a structured offense and stagger and interrupt and thin out the amount of enemies attacking you without having to waste a lot of your time in the defensive paradigms, just enduring the attacks as they come by. You need to be able to push the offense. Take him out. Yep. Just take him out. Now, real easy. And I don't want to fight you. And I don't want to fight you either. Haha. Dodging combats. Not what you're supposed to do. But they let you have that one, because if, unlike me, you actually fought everything on the way, and you don't feel like fighting anymore, just bypass. And we are seeing a little bit of the Final Fantasy hallway that this game is often criticized for having, in that, you know, we didn't really have a lot of side windows. It was mostly just running down this straight corridor onto the boss.
What is that?
Pulse armament.
Which makes this game extremely linear, but
And
as
that's bad for us,
I'll explain
isn't it?
You have eyes.
a little bit as we go along, linear is not bad. And one of the important things this game does is that its linearity isn't arbitrary. It's actually an important part of the storyline. Let's give you a little bit of a Libra here. What's up? Susceptible to deprotect. Good to know. Not immune to de-shell, is it? Nope, it is not. Come on, let me have my hero's charge. It's my only sin at this point, right? There we go. Ow. Oh yeah, it undoes its own status effects here, which is fine. We have this. Yeah. And you got it right back. Isn't that a pain? And we're gonna get smacked. Ow. Switch to diversity. Oh, I accidentally bravaried Vanille. That's fun. In that case, hero's charge. Smacked again. Alright, time to win. Oh, you lost your deep attack. And you got it right back. Easy peasy. That's the second time in this game we've fallen through the floor, if I remember correctly.
I thought we were goners. You alright?
I think so.
Incoming.
Oh, round 2. Wait, for realsies? You're gonna make me round 2 with this thing? Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, we already know how to beat you, so... Let's beat you. Oop, that hurts. Come on, Vanille. Get that D-shell going. Okay. Ow. Ow. Alright, let's get that stagger going. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is gonna be bad. Ooh, that hurts. But it's fine. It's gonna stand there for a while. Steam cleaning. And then it's gonna get those debuffs right back. Oh, it's already got them right back. Okay. Changing gears. Here comes the owl again. Ooh. Alright, time to actually win this. Come on, let me spend more time in my offensive stances. Making switch to diversity. But it maxes out your ATB gauge when you do fast switches like that. And then back to Relentless Assault. No time lost. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Ooh, that did hurt. And I think we did it. There we go. Only 4 stars for that. That's brutal. Awesome. Lightning having the medic role is actually really useful. I do like having Lightning as the leader because it allows you,
Isn't it?
if you have Lightning and either Hope or Vanille, which you should have Hope or Vanille, you get access to the Combat Clinic
Soldiers in the field.
paradigm, which is Medic, Sentinel, Medic, which is really useful for getting your HP back up after the bosses do
Exactly what you're up against?
Target.
huge AoE attacks.
You like to keep it simple, don't you?
I stick to my goal.
As long as you have a goal, you can fight.
I mean, you need other things, Hope, but
You can stay alive.
yeah. Need something to work towards. Oh, we got the ability to upgrade our stuff. Oh, good. That spilled. So, now is probably a good time to talk about the atomization in the game. After I go through the Crystarium and unlock our new paradigms. Nice. Ooh, that's expensive. But you need to get that blitz. You didn't get that blitz. You got cure, and that's basically all you need. Ooh, an extra accessory slot. That's worthwhile. Really expensive, though. Nope. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, we were really far behind on the medic line. That's fun. These were super far away from nothing. Got it. Alright, now we can do some cool stuff with here. Don't really... I don't really like having both Saz and Lightning in the same team because they really do fill the same roles generally. Because I don't really want to make Saz a commando, and well, I guess we can ditch Relentless Assault for aggression. And then try a Disaster for Relentless Assault. That's really all we got. Because 2 commandos, not exactly the best thing to do. In most cases, you want to have someone upping the stagger gauge. Even when a monster is already staggered, the Ravagers increasing the stagger gauge just makes them take more and more damage in the future. Whereas, and then the only real thing that aggression is good for with 2 commandos, or even 3 commandos, is when you need to just do a lot of AoE damage to things that you don't really have the capacity to stagger. Because Ravagers also get those AoE magic abilities to do AoE staggering to go with the commandos, so. Let's check the shop to see if the good weapons are out. Oh no, those are just stuff you use to upgrade. Nothing important. Ooh, a critical shield. That'd be cool, but not worth the money. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the itemization. So, the fact that you upgrade your stuff, and you have 2 types of upgrades. You have things that... What are we gonna... Oh, you already have a critical shield one. I'm gonna stick with the probing staff for a bit. So let's sort this. Never use all of it. I can't remember. Yeah. It doesn't let you over... Come on, get to 10. There we go. Progress made towards the higher XP grades doesn't carry over, so getting that 1.75. Ooh, nice, level up. Getting up to 2 times, using any more doesn't really improve the XP gains from it. Ooh, yes, that stuff's really good. 2 frustrations, really good at upping your stuff. So, essentially, how this actually, I wonder if 2 is the max. Oh no, 3 is the max. I remember. Just takes a long time to get to. There we go. Now we just take our 9 digital circuits and use 8 of them. And then it just goes from 3 to 7. Now Vanille does so much more damage. Oh, and that only downed you to 2. But yeah, essentially how the upgrade system works is that what they do in this game is they give you basically, I think it's 3 or 4 different types of weapons. Weapons that confer different types of bonuses. You have your balanced weapons, you have one that focuses more on strength, one that's more on magic, and then items that give you a non-numerical bonus, like the one that gives you shield in critical conditions. There's ones that improve your ATB gauge every time you get hit, and other little bonuses that you get. And then you just upgrade them as you have the money so that they get stronger over time. That way there's one good thing about this and one problem with this. The good thing about this is that you can choose a weapon that you like and keep those bonus stats through the whole game, because it gets stronger with you over time. It has the capacity to grow with you, so you never have to have the problem where it has a cool effect, but it's too weak for it to be useful in combat anymore. You can upgrade it so that it's always relevant. The bad thing is that it really means that there's no good item drops, because everything is about crafting the items. It's about making the items you get stronger. There's really a limited amount of drops that you can find in chests that you can get at the end of a boss fight. You don't really find cool swords. At best, and I think this game does do that, you get the advanced versions of weapons you might not have been upgrading. That allows you to do a hard switch to it in case you started upgrading a weapon that you're not a huge fan of. You don't have to start from the scratch in order to get the other item to catch up to it. You can find one that's different than the one you have equipped, and you can switch to it if you want to.
Destroy it.
By yourself?
But what
Are you crazy?
that means is
What's that get you?
actually, this is really important. See, I'll get back to this point.
Something happens to Eden. It's lights out. Cocoon.
So the important thing about what's happening at the beginning of this game is that people are unsure about what they want to do.
You just want to snuff out
They've been given this focus, and now
Sarah, she said to save
they basically
It might even
have
be
to
on
do
us
this
to
thing,
make
and
sure Cocoon's
it's something that they don't really want to do, but it's basically do or
I don't
die.
take orders from Fal'Cie.
And so they're all trying
How I
to.
live is up to me.
Don't
That's an
you
important
mean
line.
How you die?
Think like that, and it's already over.
So they're all trying to rationalize what they should do, trying to figure out how they're going to react to this change in their
I'm after
lifestyle.
the sanctum,
Lightning
I'm
is
not out to destroy
basically
it. If it did come to that,
deciding that she gets to decide what her future holds. She gets to decide how to interpret things, and she's going to do basically what she wants.
Just like that and your enemies?
next time we meet, we might be too.
When the fear sunk
And
in, it tore us all apart. Lightning was suffering, reaching out to us. But none of us could see it.
yeah. I didn't see that either the first time this came around, and even with Vanille telling you that Lightning is basically frustrated and confused at this point, as everyone is.
I don't know what I should do.
That makes two of us.
And that's kind of interesting that Vanille straight up tells you, and I actually missed that the first time around, that, and that's kind of what happens in stories. Sometimes you miss important information just because you're paying less attention than you should be, or because you just don't get something, and then as a result just don't understand the explanation for it, and then
I'm going with you.
you're just kind of
Can't
left
babysit you
behind.
anymore.
I can fight. I'm not afraid.
Great. A SciComm hit squad.
And now you've been separated from the other two. And that scene also showed that, like, when they get together, they all fight. That's basically all that happens. Alright, didn't have time to assign my paradigms, so slash and burn it is. What else do we got? Super Soldier. Yeah, let's Super Soldier for a bit here, because we're gonna need it. Okay, now we need that double dose. Oh boy. Hurts so much. Get out of here. Oh, need that double dose again. Oh boy, that's painful. No, we just want attacks here. Just get rid of them. Okay. Oh yeah, you only have protect, so this paradigm is actually not doing anything right now. Oh, you're curing them. That's why they're not dead yet. Okay. You need to get out of here. What else do we got? And we're done. So yeah, the game straight up tells you that you shouldn't necessarily take Lightning as who she is right now. That she is basically just reacting rather than acting. Though the first time I played through this game, I did not see that. Because
Really? Thanks.
when you're telling a story, you generally want your characters to have a clear goal. Unfortunately, the goal for these characters is to figure out what's going on or what to do, and that the fact that that is their goal isn't super well communicated, because for some reason they just don't like exposition in this game.
Uh-oh. Army's out to play.
What now?
What now? I mean, we could stay here, but shouldn't we...
Run?
Huh?
We should run. If we rush in now, we'll just get in her way.
You know, you're right. I guess. I mean, it's not like Lightning needs any help.
Just because she's the only one who pretends she knows what she's doing. And that, kids, is the lesson. If you don't know what to do, just pretend you know what you need to do. People will believe you.
We should keep moving.
Especially if they don't know what to do.
Lightning?
Of course, you're probably going to rush headfirst in the wrong direction more often than not, but you know...
So can you if you leave now. With me, it'll be fight after fight. I don't know how...
Usually doing something is better than doing nothing.
Guess.
I know that. But I need to be stronger. Lightning,
Call me Light.
what's the plan from here?
Through the Gapra Whitewood to Palampolum. We'll find transport to Eden.
I live in Palampolum. I can show you all the shortcuts.
Inside the city, I bet, because
No
you're
side
like
trips.
12.
No need. I don't think Lassie are welcome at home.
Alright, I do hate these two. But we're missing a crucial role here, and that's War and Peace. Oh wait, no, we have Crystarium to upgrade. What's your weakest one? Oh, you get an accessory from your synergist too. There we go. Get them stats up. Ooh, we get Fyra. Very nice. Of course, now that I upgraded all of Vanille stuff and don't have access to Vanille, we're all just working on weak weapons. And that's just how things are.
I'm gonna go look ahead.
I don't know why you would. Clearly Lightning is the one you should be following orders from, but you know what, Hope? You do you. Oh no, he's resistant to thunder now. I bet he's dead now. Oh, he didn't die. And there we go. Now, a little bit of good example of integrating your storyline and your gameplay. The fact that you're able to cast magic is directly related to the fact that you're a Lassie. You get those powers from that little curse thing that you got from the Pulse Fal'Cie. And so the enemies can't there's no reason why they should be directly able to cast things like Bar Thunder or Cure. And so they don't have access to that. They have access to Mana Drive, Bar Thunder, and Cure, which is essentially a real-world explanation. It's essentially an explanation to why they're able to cast it, is that they basically have a machine that does it for them. Which is pretty common in a lot of like hot sci-fi-ish fantasy, where if you can't cast magic, you just get a program to do it for you instead. And so in this game, they communicate that by having them use Mana Drive magic abilities, which is a small choice, but it's just a bit of attention to detail that just helps bring the world together. It's just details like that which are important to bring the whole experience to life. Because without it, it would be, well, it'd just be a little weird. There'd be that disconnect between what the story has told you and what the game is actually supporting. And you generally don't want that. We're gonna need to switch to War and Peace. Maybe heal yourself too. Ow. Jerk. Chain gauge and extended some more. Here we go.
No problem.
I do like using Lightning as a leader. I just really enjoy Lightning's kit. The Commander, Ravager, Medic are three very good roles to play as a player because they're the roles that aren't super. They're the roles that are most fun to play and the ones that you have a lot of choice when it comes to using them, and the ones that make the biggest effect on the combat field. Oh, how was that not a waylaid? Whereas I'm not a huge fan of playing Synergists and Saboteurs or Sentinels. Because though Saboteurs are fun to play, they're not... It's kind of frustrating to try and pay attention to the debuffs as they come up and try to like cancel time. One Piece, try and time cancels in order to maximize things, and the AI, other than the fact that they will often stand around doing nothing, does a passable job of the role. It just means all you really have to do is switch away from them when things aren't going your way. I'm missing too much with the attacks, so switch into Ruin. Ow. It's one of the reasons I like having a balanced build for... Ooh, that hurts. Balanced build for Lightning is that you can switch between magic and physical depending on the weaknesses of the enemies and based on how often you just miss by using that regular attack function. Characters like Fang don't really have that liberty, giving that her magic ability is just super weak. Do I still have that Doctor's code? Because I don't think it's very useful anymore. It is not useful anymore. Which I think the HP is better. Reducing your HP by 20%. Better than reducing the damage you take from one source by 10%. Because there's no defense stat in this game, there's just your HP stat. Which is actually an interesting choice. It simplifies the status effects by the game and makes things a little bit less math-based and a little bit more like, your HP is this much, enemy attacks do this much. The way to survive it is to have more HP. You don't have to think about like, well, it is, like, should I up my defense, should I up my HP? There's just less... Because you have less options available to you, there's fewer calculations you have to do in order to succeed. And furthermore, it just makes it so that all your attacks deal the same damage regardless of target, so you know right off the bat if your attacks are ineffective. You can see they're doing less damage than they normally do. You don't have to worry about, well, is it because they're resistant to the physical attack, or do they just have higher defense?
Pulse machine to escape.
And I think that's a good thing that has happened in a lot of RPGs and JRPGs, is that they've just simplified the number of stats available to a character just to make things easier to manipulate, just to make things easier to understand. Because you don't want to make it so that your players need like advanced mathematics or good understanding of RPG systems in order to make the basic calculations they need in order to not even like excel, but just to understand what your system is doing. In this game, there are three stats. There's your HP, your attack, and your magic. And it's very clear what both of those things do. It's your physical attack damage, your magic attack damage, and how much damage you can take before you die. You don't have to worry about spirit, about luck. Defensive charge machine power reverse, enemies got hot in the party. Cool. I forgot about this little minigame thing. Yeah! We're doing it! Oh boy. Oh, we're making jumps. What is this? Oh, yeah. Oh, we got some power. Oh, they're coming. Not anymore, they're not. Slammed! Oh, they're still here. Slammed! Okay. That's good. It's so satisfying to see them just, like, fall into oblivion, because those are very annoying enemies to deal with in actual combat. And so just blowing them into oblivion like a bowling ball wrecking through these pins, like, it's just satisfying. This is very good. So just go, hup, bam! Now we don't have to worry. Even better, slam them into the walls. Very good. Huge fan. So it's a short little mini game. I like it when RPGs do this, when they just give you this fun little low risk thing for you to just... Ooh, I should probably save this for those little bowling balls up ahead. Oh boy. Aha! Oh, we can just kick them. Oh, that's good too. Hey, guess what? Whoop! Slam. And away they fly. Good stuff. Out of power though, so I just kick the rest of them. So yeah, no risk, just kind of go through, enjoy yourselves for a little bit. That's what it's all about. And it's important, and it's actually a good idea for them to let you play through it, because they could have just done it in a cutscene, showed Hope controlling it and like blasting through the mechs, but having you play just lets you connect to it a little bit more. It lets you enjoy it a little bit more than watching a cutscene. Because generally speaking, it's kind of like the show don't tell rule in video games. It's play, don't show. Giving the player the opportunity to play through it is better than showing them that this thing is happening. Hooray. So that's a good sequence. Just light fun. Completely lighthearted. Get through it. We're never going to find another one of those things, Hope. It's a mini game. Why would they repeat it? And so later in the game, when you get to choose your leader in your party, the only two leaders I will really play are Lightning and Fang. Mostly because, well, I guess there's other reasons to play them for specific reasons, but mostly because when you get access to limit breaks, they have probably the best ones. And limit breaks are an interesting part of this. An interesting part of this game. In the way that they work balance-wise, and I'll explain a little bit more when we actually, get them and can talk about them specifically, because they are interesting, but no point talking about them when I'm still quite a ways from getting them. Ow, you're shooting at me. Should have taken out the ranger first. Always take out the buffers and the healers. Gosh, sometimes it's so hard to get those 5-star ratings. Also because Lightning and Hope is a very bad 2-person team. Nope, I'm going this way. Oh, this way may not have been the best way, but it's the way that we picked. Oh boy. No, let me open it. Fine. Wait. Oh, that's where it ended up. It's a good thing they can't get preemptive strikes on you. That would be very annoying. Ooh, let's get out of here. Let's get you out of here. Uh-oh. Yeah, that hurt. No, don't heal me. Heal yourself. And you died. And we're done. Oh, boy. See, that's an interesting mechanic that they've coded in, those guided missiles, because on the one hand, it's like, yeah, you're about to get an attack. If you stand here, you should probably move. The problem is, you don't really have the capacity to control your character's movement. Like, your ability to move around the combat field is limited by just the way that your character is moving, the way that the decisions that they make themselves when they're moving around the battlefield. You don't have free run capacity. So even if you do see that you need to move, you don't necessarily have the capacity to do anything about that. Ooh. Heal yourself, like Hope. There we go. Definitely need to up your stagger gauge more because you still got a lot of life left. Now we take you out. Although at this stage, the difference of damage between a commando and a ravager is not super noticeable, As you can see that my ruins do only slightly more than Hope's thunders. It's not until the rolls start to level up that the difference between a Commander and Ravager's damage output starts to become pretty important. And away we go. Bye. I think it is kind of important that that is a slow gain. That you don't have to think about just the general what roll versus the other too much. Because you want the player to understand your system before you make them do complex things with it. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of what this game does pretty well for its level design is that it gives you the option to explore one way. Ooh, I know what's coming up on that bridge. It gives you the option to explore one way versus the other without feeling like you've missed out on something, because when they are very long branching pathways, there's that temptation to backtrack to the way you didn't go in case there's something really cool that you missed. There's really no incentive to do that in this game, both because they're very short passageways and because, as I talked about earlier, with the itemization being mostly based around crafting materials, there's really nothing that there is for you to miss, because those chests never contain like rare weapons or rare items, so collecting all the chests is less of a...
This isn't working.
Is less important.
I mean, you're a liability. You'll just slow me down.
What?
I'm sorry, but I can't protect you when...
You can't leave me here. You've got to take me with you.
Enough! The whole world is against us. I can barely keep myself alive, let alone some helpless kid.
And Lightning's the sea marker's being like, how about you stop being a baby?
Tough? Do it on your own.
Nope. Odin thinks you should stop being a bitch. It's actually kind of rough that they don't explain what these summons, what these Eidolons are, until much later. And that essentially these Eidolons exist to, when the Lassie start to basically doubt themselves, they start to give up, the Eidolons put them in a life or death situation and say like, nope, you have to do something. And that really reinforces the general theme of the game. It's that here's a life and death situation. You have to do something now. And it's basically the entire game represented in boss form. You have that doom thing. It's a timer that is literally counting down towards your death, and you got to do something about it, or else you're gonna die. And so you don't have the option to. Oh, you're freaking dead already. Gosh. Actually, you know what? I need to get Shell. Yeah, they put you in a life and death situation and say, you gotta do something or you die. And just force that upon you. And it's the entire game's theme. In short, it is these characters are put into a situation where they have to respond or they die. Bing. There we go. Really important. Ooh, do I get a Fault Siphon? Nice. When I no longer have a party that can let me use it. That's ideal. And so, yeah, it's one of the main flaws in this game's storytelling is that they don't explain things until after you've been exposed to it a couple of times. Like, it'd be much better storytelling if you knew at this point that is what is going on here. But you don't know what's going on at this point. Ow. Yeah, let's just keep you alive there. Jeez. I don't have the capacity to deal with this. Come on, keep me alive. Okay, good. You can keep yourself alive now, and we can get ourselves buffed again. Come on. There we go. There's a shell. You gotta give yourself the shell now. Give yourself that one bit of cure. And here's your shell. Come on. There we go. Now we can actually start fighting. There we go. You don't do a lot of damage, but this builds up that Gestalt gauge real good. Aha! Painful. But Hope didn't die because he had the shell status. Just switching paradigms to not die. Yeah, that hurts. Come on, use your shield. There we go. Gotta build this a lot better though, because you're about to kill me with that doom. It's good that one of the good parts of game design here that's subtle is that the end of that gauge isn't when it's full necessarily. It's when the bar reaches the Gestalt phase. Yeah, that hurts. Which means that it always seems like success is just out of reach, and then you succeed. You just the boss is done well before. Because if it was to when it is full, like there's no way I'm going to succeed. I'd be way too far. But now it just has to reach the Gestalt, and I'm done here. We did it. And so it gives you that bit of like, oh gosh, we're not going to succeed. We're not going to succeed, and then oh yeah. The success is when it reaches Gestalt, and then you just won. It's good at giving you that desperation that the characters are supposed to be feeling right now. Like it lets you connect with the characters emotionally because it fills you with that fear, with the idea that you're gonna fail. And it's just a really subtle way they built that bar that makes it work that way, that makes that happen. And I think it's very effective at accomplishing that.
Lightning! Whoa.
And so these Eidolon fights are actually very interesting because of that.
Your brand looks different. Was that an Eidolon? Like Lassie can summon?
Magic and mumbo-jumbo. I must have hit my head on that purge train.
Nope. And that's not exactly a good line in any story.
Am I really in your way?
No, Lightning was just being a baby.
I'll do better. I'll try harder.
Talk about your feelings, Lightning.
We'll toughen you up.
You really suck at that.
I'm sorry about before.
There we go. You could probably be more articulate than that, but welcome to Parties with Squall. I'm not actually talking about how you feel. But we have Lightning now, so we can talk a little bit about how the summons work, because I really like how they work in this game. Both because, one, they work as a full heal, which is really useful when you're in a pinch. And two, because it changes the combat system in a way that's really fun. So I'm actually going to do the tutorial that is going to show up here.
Got my back?
Yeah.
See, Lightning's learning to trust. We don't need to, because this is going to be the summoning Odin tutorial, which I'm going to take because I don't remember how this works, and it is very difficult. Yeah, summon Odin. Let's do this.
Odin.
And yeah, having the skip summon button right off the bat, super good. Because, you know, it's cool the first few times you do it, but when you're doing it in a random encounter or when you're doing it for the 5th time of the day, you don't necessarily want to see this cutscene. It's not very long, but the capacity to skip it is still really important. Okay. I also want to objects damage, reseal the element dismissed after summoning the best times. Yes. And you fill the Gestalt gauge as you do. Okay, so let's build the Gestalt gauge. Ooh, good start. And of course, you just have different paradigms that don't really matter, because all you really do is switch between lightnings. Oh yeah, you're basically a Sentinel Commander as Odin. It's actually cool that your Eidolons have their own... They have their own classes, essentially. quick, we gotta stagger the other one. Ah, we don't have time. Alright, into Gestalt mode. Where your summon turns into some sort of vehicle. The coolest of which is probably Vanille's, because Hecaton here is great, although Hope has the best summon in the game, Alexander, which sucks because main charactering Hope is frustrating to say the least. Oh yeah, so we got this little Stormblade. There we go. Ooh, we gotta keep that going. Lightning Strike. You gotta figure... It can sometimes be hard to build a stagger gauge if they're not already... Oh yeah, this builds a stagger gauge. Build that Thunderfall. Oh yeah, that one died. We're not gonna build it enough, are we? Because you gotta be able to stagger them. Didn't get to stagger out. That's a shame. Because yeah, basically we need to stagger them all, summon the Gestalt mode, and then do this ult. You got it in the end. And then, bam, bunch of damage. And then their stagger gauge resets, I believe. Yes. And so it's really important to get them all staggered before you hit the Gestalt, or immediately after you hit the Gestalt, but I ran out of time. And so it's really cool. They're very powerful, and they change the game, they change the way that combat works while they're out in a way that feels powerful, and that's what's really important. In a lot of the Final Fantasies, the summons are technically very strong. A lot of the times they are the strongest thing you can do in your turn, but a combination of their summon animations taking a long time,
We'll stop here.
and the fact that they're only slightly better than anything else you could do,
Don't sweat it.
really makes them feel underwhelming. It feels like you spend a lot of time and a lot of effort to summon this, and you wait around, watch their animation, and then you're just like, oh, that was slightly stronger than me casting Firaga. In this game, you get that bit where the summon is out and doing stuff, and you're building a Gestalt gauge, and then it builds up to this vehicle mode, and you're wrecking the battlefield, and then it ends with, you know, the huge super that does a huge amount of damage to everything. It changes the game in a way that makes it actually very powerful. It heals you, which makes it very useful in a lot of context to just get that heal out, and it, you know, does a lot of damage. It is actually a very powerful way to just deal with these random encounters. And it's a good way to use that TP bar that you're really not using for anything else. So all in all, it's a very good integration of the summon systems.
Not by a long shot.
And so I think it is one of the best uses of the summon systems in a Final Fantasy game. With maybe the exception of Final Fantasy X, which did a lot of these things. It changes the battle when they're out. It's very powerful. They have a huge impact on the results of a fight. Though in Final Fantasy X, one of the problems is they were basically useless for most of the later boss encounters, because all of the fights where you really need those Eidolons to have your back and look out for you, a lot of the times the boss just has something that gets rid of them. All of the Seymour fights, the moment he takes a turn, he just banishes the summon and it's gone. So all you can really do is get one attack out with that summon before it's out of there. But because Final Fantasy X had a lot of hard random encounters, the summons are very useful for when you encounter that big monster that's really strong. You're like, I don't want to go through the effort of defeating these things with my normal party. Why don't I just summon Ifrit and just take it out? Why don't I get Shiva to just constantly delay and take them out?
I wonder how Hope's doing.
Surprisingly good, after Lightning realized she probably shouldn't shout at a 13-year-old for not being, what's the word, a hardened military veteran.
Good for him.
And so Lightning and Hope being together is really good, because it gives Hope more confidence, and it gives Lightning more...
What's wrong?
It cools Lightning off, lets her focus on empathy rather than her anger.
All of Cocoon is in the grip of pulse phobia.
Whereas these two is very important, because Vanille doesn't really know anything that's going on as a result of not being from here and having been asleep for the past 10,000 years. And Saz, being that old father figure, is basically like, yeah, here's what's going on. I have a 9-year-old, so I'm used to explaining the basics of how the world works.
It gets worse the older you get.
And so these two work well as a character, and Snow and Fang are good as a duo because both of them are a bit of like extremists. They're both like, we need to make the world a better place by any means necessary. But whereas Snow is kind of all talk on that, he's all ideas and no real experience or action. Fang is like, I'm literally part of a group that is doing that. I'm literally leader of a resistance against the government, and here are some real and like, here are some real things you can do in order to make it happen. I don't like Synergist Saboteur. Really don't. Slash and Burn is nice, but we also need Undermine. Will we ever use Roll in Peace? Yeah, I guess we'll use. Okay. So yeah, one of the advantages of this Crystarium is that it gets you to see exactly how your characters are advancing and sort of prioritize one thing over others. Some things over others. We don't have any abilities to learn. Okay. Let's just get you a weak one up. There are some negative parts to it. It's better to have things like skill trees where your characters have some options in how they grow, have a little bit more like variability. But in a lot of single player RPGs, generally you don't want to limit people's builds. You don't want to limit what they're allowed to do. The best way to do it is give them the capacity to play however they want, but just do what this game does and make it so that they have to choose between equals. I can spend my time as a Ravager more than a Commander. I can spend my time as a Medic more than anything else. I can really not use the synergy. Oh boy. Oh boy. You heal from fire, don't you? Oh yeah. That was bad. I was just healing it up. You want it so that they can play the characters however they see fit, but making it so that you can only play the character one way at a time. You want them to have the capacity to build these characters however they see fit and switch on the fly if they don't like it, because there's no penalty to making them have the capacity to build however they want. But it is a problem if they just switch. But it becomes a problem if they build a character and they don't like it, and now they're stuck and they have no way to like reset their skill tree, or they have to do some hard quest in order to change the way that they play. Giving them the capacity to just change on the fly is super important. Even if it's not super explicit as resetting a skill tree, it's just you have access to all of these skills, you have access to all of these abilities, but it's up to you to decide how you use them. And making it so that you can't use all your abilities all the time is really important.
Nothing to it.
And that's kind of how the paradigm system works. And the fact that you only get 6 of those paradigms, the fact that you only get... Oh, how do we... Oh, yeah, we just walk. YOLO to the rules. Oh! He turned his body around so he could see me. That was a shame. Where's those stealth mechanics now? Oh, boy. Come on, get that. Ah, no. Didn't get it. Ah, well. Do it, Vanille. There we go. Hey, stop hitting Vanille. I'm trying to kill you here. It's very rude. Saz's Eidolon is... I can't remember the name of it, but it's the car. You get to drive around a car and beat people up. It's pretty cool. Actually, a lot of the Eidolons can be described as pretty cool. I think Lightning actually has the worst. Odin, as a character, is always the greatest, but it's basically just a horse you ride around and slash people with. Nothing unique as far as Eidolons and summons go. Not the way that Alexander, being a massive fortress you shoot laser beams from, or... I don't even remember what... Oh yeah, Fangorn's Bahamut, which is just always cool because you have Mecha Bahamut, given the way that this game does things.
Looks like it doesn't work.
That's a shame. And so, again, with the level design, every level has a unique feel to it. This is just sort of like raised parapets wandering through Mech Town. Oh boy. Really wish I had Blitz. Oh yeah, I forgot these bombs work in that if they ever reach full power, they self-destruct. This is gonna hurt. Ooh, that hurt. No! Heal yourself! Oh boy, you're getting killed. Oh boy, you didn't die. That was a surprise. I'm actually quite surprised that you survived there. Okay. Actually, we need to just undermine you. What am I doing? Ooh, perfect. No, actually we want to dual cast him. That is the good thing about the paradigm shift system, is that you can switch basically for free. And I think that's important that you're able to switch for free. They didn't make it so that it's locked in for a certain amount of time or penalizes you for switching. Really the only penalty is the time it takes to switch, which is pretty minor after the first switch, so it's really not a negative thing. I think this game would be much worse if switching paradigms had some sort of cost associated to it, had some sort of penalty associated with it. It would make it less dynamic. It would be frustrating more often than not. Especially since switching paradigms isn't inherently anything powerful. It's... What is this arcane? That's cool. Alright, I'll actually take that over what we had before. It's actually... Because switching paradigms is... Instead of making it a thing on a charger, or having it you locked into a paradigm for a certain amount of time, or have it having a cooldown, that would create more frustration than it would anything else, because if you accidentally switched when you didn't want to, well, now you're locked into it for a while, which if that ever made you lose a fight, would make you mad salty for the rest of the game, essentially. Yeah, I might as well just stay in this paradigm and finish you off. And that's why... Ooh, you're weak to fire. Good to know. And that's why it's really good that the game is basically built around switching paradigms for free. Because they realize that... They must have realized at some point that, the best way to play is to switch these paradigms. And it's really good to... The capacity to switch and do whatever paradigm is needed at the time is essential to just how the game flows. Let me switch. Do wish that they didn't have that long one every single time, but you know what? Now that I've played it for a bit longer, it's not the worst. It's an extra, 2 or 3 seconds on that first paradigm shift, which is not that bad. Because your AI friends still do stuff while you're switching. They do act immediately despite that animation. So it's just you that gets a little bit more delay than your friends do. But making choices that complements the AI is an important bit of any sort of single-player game that relies on AI counterparts. Final Fantasy XV is all about making choices that makes your AI do the right thing, that makes your AI make the right choices. I switch to this. There's no reason for me to flame strike anymore because... Bam! I mean, now there is. Just go ahead and deshell everything. That's good. Well, we kind of need some heals here, so make that happen. Alright, let's do this. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, finish your fires and finish off this last guy. Awesome.
I'm tougher than you thought, huh?
It might not be weak to fire, it just might be that Vanille, having an upgraded weapon, is just very strong right now. Because actually, if I look, her magic stat... 134 compared, which is more than Saz's strength and magic combined. So that's kind of the importance of this. And so yeah, here we have something that kind of goes against the general linearity of it all and gives you a bit of structured choices. And is actually also a good example of what I was talking about earlier about not penalizing you for going one way or the other, because they all kind of loop back into each other, so you never... You know, make sure that you attack this one while you're waiting for me. Gotta kill this guy first before he gets bigger. Ooh boy. 1, 2. Oh, they work with each other. Oh, that's rough. Because that's AoE fire damage, so they heal each other if they're in close vicinity. That's harsh. But it is a good monster design. They start with half health. If they ever reach top full health, they blow up and deal a huge amount of damage to you. So it makes it so you gotta kill them quick, and you gotta kill both of them quick. Otherwise, you know, you just get wrecked. And now to facilitate that, someone needs to learn Blitz. It didn't have enough to learn Blitz. Well, that just makes me feel bad. Oh, that was a bit of a waste of Crystarium, but it's okay.
Let's give this a shot. Gotta hit 4 control panels.
Nice. Just go around, hit control panels. This, actually, a bit of interesting commentary here. I'm gonna say before I basically roast other games. The way that this particular section is handling its thing, like, here's a place, go hit the control panels in whatever order you feel like. A lot of times, this is how games approach non-linearity. It's this idea that, like, here's a goal, you can accomplish it in whatever order you feel like. But you do have to do all 4 of them, and essentially which order you take them in doesn't really make a huge difference. And this is what Dragon Age Origins does. This is what a lot of... Oh boy, Dragon Age Origins is the only one I can think of off the top of my head. A lot of open world where you kind of select the missions games work this way, where it's... Generally speaking, you have to do everything. You have to follow... You have this, like, long goal that you accomplish in whatever order you feel, but in the end, the order you choose doesn't really matter. It's just sort of a slight bubble of the ability to do whatever you want inside this small bubble before it leads you to the next railroad linear passageway to the next bubble where you get to do things.
Pulse machines can't be that different.
And in the end, is it all that engaging to have this, here are full control panels, hit them in whatever order you want? I think this in brief kind of explains why it's not all that interesting as a game mechanic. It's not all that interesting as a way of telling stories, because it really is just cornering off small sections of the game behind walls and, like, lets you play in this limited field on the way there. But maybe that's just me. Quick, debuff them. Ooh, don't get too far. Oh wait, no. This is the one we wanted. Bam. Bam. Okay, before we get too far, let's get some buffs going. Really can't wait to get that advanced ATB so I can give 2 buffs at once. That's the goal. That's the dream. And it makes that first time you get your ATB expansion so good, because you can do 2 of those 2 ATB things in one turn, which is huge for anything, whatever it is you're trying to do. It's just huge for your ability to do that. You get to put on 2 buffs in one turn. You get to use 2 blitzes in a single round. Actually, we want to dual cast them. And it just blows up your capacity to do things in a way that 5th ATB bar doesn't really do to the same extent. Because that 5th bar doesn't have as much of a difference. Even the 6th one doesn't have that much of an impact. It's that first time you get that 4 ATB when you realize, wow, having access to higher ATB gauge is just super useful. And that's why it's important that 3 is the starting one. It gives you that. It allows them to give you that reward partway through to expand your strategy and just make you more effective at doing whatever it is you're trying to do. Nah, we gotta fight all 4 of these guys, no way around it.
Let's get this over with.
They got the bomb. Ow. Oh, come on. Don't interrupt her. Just trying to debuff you here. There we go. Once you get the hang of it, especially now that I realize I have the good paradigms here, killing these guys, pretty easy. Come back, switch, and take them out. Easy.
Wisdom does come with age.
And hopefully, I guess the intent of this is hopefully you get to a point where you figure out
Execute myself.
the best way to defeat these monsters. You figure out a paradigm thing that works for you. Hopefully it encourages experimentation. It's hard for me personally to know exactly how effective it is because I will always experiment. I will always try to reach that maximum potential, that maximum engagement. Whereas I know that there are some people that even if nudged towards it might not. They'll rely on the simplest strategy that works. Maybe they'll just have a paradigm of just commando medic and just auto battle until the fight is done. And no, that wouldn't be all that interesting, that wouldn't be all that engaging, but for many people, if you're not looking to... It's sort of the problem that commando medic works as a paradigm. It works fairly well to pass these random encounters, and if it works for you and you can't really figure out any better strategy off the top of your head, you might just stick with it. You might not try anything else. You might not try a third or fourth or a set of paradigms that works better. And that's why I like how there are certain times where the game kind of forces you to do more than just commando medic. These bombs are a good example that you can't really... Oh boy, he's gonna blow up. Oh boy, heal me. Oh, heal me. Oh, this is gonna be bad. Oh good, we missed that explosion. Oh good, that hurt way less than I thought it would.
Didn't even have to ask.
Okay, let's take one of these guys out. Ow. No, don't de-shell the other one. Come on, kill this one. Take him out. There we go. Ow. Oh my god, synergist and heal.
Thanks, Vanille.
Oh, you gotta do it yourself still.
Vanille.
Take him out. Yeah, those... Of course, I kind of proved myself wrong there with Commando Medic. Just heal through the self-destruct works as a decent strategy. Though you'd have to be pretty... You have to be more than a little bit stubborn to see that and think that, oh yeah, that's definitely the way to do it. Because it's pretty clear that that's not exactly the best case scenario, especially if you enter a situation where both of them blow up and deal a lot of damage to you. At least hopefully. There we go. High level strategy, switching paradigms halfway through abilities completion, so you get the paradigm bonus of the one you're switching to with the ability from a different role. It's not super relevant, but it's really good in one specific situation, and that's when you have a sentinel who's blocking with a counterattack block that does like damage based on how many attacks they've blocked. You switch to commander right before the damage from that counterattack goes out, and it does a lot of damage because sentinels as a paradigm have a very bad damage modifier, and so from a balance perspective, they've made it so that its multipliers are really high because the sentinel naturally does low damage. They want that counterattack to be useful, so they make it do a lot just as an ability. And so if you switch to commando and get that damage bonus on top of it, it's usually the strongest thing you can do, but very difficult to accomplish because it requires really good timing and requires you to, not attack for a long time. Because usually it doesn't do as much damage as if you had attacked for a while, and Because, you know, you're blocking and you're actually keeping your team alive in the meantime. Where did you get that blanket, by the way?
Not a care in the world.
I'm concerned about where Vanille pulled this blanket from.
What?
Do not cross this line. Understood?
Grow up.
And good night again.
Or perhaps it's because Vanille has grown up
Just go to sleep already.
that she feels the need to draw that line. She don't trust Saz yet. Even if he has a small bird in his afro. Ah, well then.
Still a kid.
Actually, one of the things that JRPG is really bad at, it's representing old people. This game being an exception, that Saz being relatively middle-aged, has like is a decent representation of like that age gap about the way that he interacts with the other characters, the way that his character is based on a lot of like dealing with his kid as a main problem, basically volunteering to be the mentor and teacher just because he's used to being that role. And they don't really spend a lot of being like, hey, you're the old guy, isn't that funny, look at what the old guy can't do. He's actually pretty well-rounded as a character. The fact that he's old is not exactly the only thing he's got going on, but it is a way that informs his issues, the way that he sees the world.
Keep your pants on. You'll get a peek soon enough. Just try and behave.
I'm not gonna make any
Now that is something that this game does really well.
Cheeky boy,
Just
aren't
kind
you?
of give you
We'll see how
glimpses
long that
into
lasts.
the world just by things happening in cutscenes. Like you get a sample of that cool technology, that energy field slowing down incoming planes so that they can make a landing, that appears in a lot of sci-fi. It's not exactly groundbreaking, but it's sort of a decent idea when you're talking about sci-fi. The best way to explain how the technology works is to not explain how the technology works and just have it around, have it do stuff, because most of the time people don't think about how specifically your smartphone works, how specifically the internet works. It's just something that is there and is used, and if you were to think about it, you would have a huge you could like have a huge and interesting, like there's a mind-blowing amount of like specific technologies and interesting ways that all of this stuff works. GPS satellites are quite possibly one of the most advanced scientific accomplishments that we've created, but if you never think about it, if you're never really exposed to how they work, they just are a thing that's around. They're just there.
Must be snow.
Because everything is mind-bogglingly complex if you think about all of the ways that they're implemented, all of the things required for them to exist.
To ask you.
And so the key is that most people don't think about it. They become a part of.
Fulfilled her focus as a tainted pulse.
Ooh, Rain's trash talking Sarah.
You think she was out to hurt Cocoon?
I'd hardly be alone if I did. When it comes to Pulse, who could claim to know anything? I need the truth for the sake of Cocoon.
The sake of Cocoon. We're from Cocoon. Shipping us out, purging innocent people.
Snow's gonna take a stand.
That's how you lend us a hand?
Those are the Sanctum's methods. The public fears what it doesn't know. It's grown tired of living in constant terror of these threats from the world below.
Threats that
So,
they themselves
the
have
Sanctum
fostered.
devised a plan for you, Lassie.
I'll bet.
A public execution. The people don't know any better. Strike down the phantoms before their eyes, and they sleep like babes.
No!
Correct.
The Sanctum has intelligence on the other Lassie already. It's only a matter of time.
You'll never catch them.
I see. We'll need your help then, won't we?
Sarah.
And yeah, you get small samples of good old oppressive government. Ooh, day 7. It was really early.
You're kidding, right?
I mean it.
In the background, you got
Can't drop the breakup
the
bomb
main
like that.
theme. And that's one thing the music is good for in this game, is that there's a couple themes that run through it, and a lot of the music are iterations on that. It really helps you create an emotional connection to the music, and it's actually music done very
Now
well.
I know there's something
I
better.
personally am not a huge fan of the music, but it is still executed fairly
Come
well.
too far to quit now.
It's not your choice.
You really want to leave me?
I don't want to. I have to. Listen, it's over. Please, just stay away from me.
What happened? At least tell me that. If it was something I did, just say it.
Also, law of fiction.
Okay.
If anyone starts the story with a fulfilling and good relationship, it is probably going to be destroyed or
Look,
undone
Brandon.
during the story. Snow and Sarah is kind of a good example of that. They have a good relationship that is kind of ruined
Cocoon.
by the events of the story.
Danger to us.
That way, the characters saving that relationship is part of their driving motivations.
Get it now? You're my enemy.
It's not always the case. It is very much possible to have
Bye.
characters with a solid relationship that keep it that way throughout the story. But essentially what that means is that the story is not about their relationship, which is also a good idea. That's a good idea, to just have characters who have a solid relationship as just part of who they are as characters.
Sarah!
Because that can help you inform how they interact with the world. It allows you to think of them as sort of like a team, essentially. How do they, as a couple, overcome the problems that one or both of them have?
Sarah!
In the same way that you would think about, like, if you have 4 main characters, how would they, as a group, overcome the challenges that one or all of them might be facing? And it creates, because every group has individual dynamics, every member of a group has some sort of relationship with the others, even if it is as acquaintances or as a friend of a friend. And it's just another dynamic that can exist within a larger group, can exist as a group. Yo, what's up?
What's with the long face? You and Sarah have a fight?
Only a little bit.
I don't mean to be insensitive, but if you get that upset just talking about breaking up, it's no wonder it happened.
Wow, mind your own business. Oh, look at that. Sarah went to one of the easiest places to see her in this very small seaside village, the Dock. Also, dang, that drop off in the ground. Not a lot of beaches that do that, but I have been on beaches that do have a drop off that stiff. But it is just good art design that they thought about that. The water just isn't just this entity that interacts with the ground, but thinking about what the ground does as it goes below the water.
Let's see, have a focus, right? I'll go with you. Help you do it. Just let me.
No! If you're with me, the sanctum
I will be with you. No matter what. We've come too far to quit now.
Lightning could learn a thing or two about talking about what she feels from Snow.
I don't know.
Maybe a little bit. Snow is a little bit too...
I don't know my focus.
What's the word?
I'm gonna be a monster.
Is a little bit too...
Not if I'm here.
acts without thinking. A little bit too brash, that's the word. He just kind of decides to do something based on how he's feeling at the moment and does it. Doesn't stop to think about what he's doing, doesn't realize why he's doing what he's doing. He just gets into his head that I'm just going to do this, and then does. Something that he learns pretty quickly hanging out with Fang, that it's not just, you can't just do whatever pops into your head first. You have to act with purpose, with intention, with a consideration of what you're going to accomplish with your actions. Snow in the opening cutscene, when he's just like, hey, let's just give all of these people guns and fight against the army and just pretend that everything's going to be okay as a result of that, is really short-sighted, because there's, you know, a bunch of refugees given weapons is not exactly a fair fight against trained soldiers. And as a result, it goes really poorly for him.
Nothing would have changed. Sarah was brave enough to face it.
And we'll see that growth from Snow, especially the second time he kind of leads people against it. He's a little bit more understanding that you don't just face things head on. You do have to have some sort of plan. You do have to have some sort of purpose behind it. And so Snow's character development is pretty good in that respect. It's pretty clear, especially with the way he deals with Hope eventually. Snow and Hope together is one of the most interesting character dynamics you see when they're both together. It's fun. And that's kind of why, despite the fact that Hope by himself is actually a very annoying character in that, like he's the Hamlet. He by himself is just a bit of a whiny baby. It's, you have a thing that you want to do, you have a reason for it, and you want to do it. You want to do this thing, and you're just not doing it. You're worried about whether or not it's the right thing to do, despite the fact that you have all of these really convincing reasons why it is the right thing to do. Just do it already, okay? And now we get the worst part of the game, playing as Hope as the main character.
Can you handle it?
Just personally, I just don't like his roles. Synergist, Ravager, Medic. Not my favorite roles.
Now you're learning.
Though, his Limit Break actually really, really good. It's just, and his Eidolon really, really good. It's just a shame that he is the one that has them. That being said, the only one that I would say has a bad Limit Break would be Snow. And that's mostly because all the Limit Breaks are situational. You can use them whenever, but they're only really effective in specific instances, and Snow's is the hardest and the least likely for you to encounter. And so as a result, I'm really not a fan of maining Snow either. But we won't get to Limit Breaks for quite a while, and so instead, we're going to end this part of the deep dive and continue with piloting Hope, which will be an interesting thing to deal with. So until next time, I hope you can join me once a week as we come back to the deep dive, either Tuesday or Wednesdays. I'll start, if you follow us on Facebook, I will post when we're going to go live, when I know a little bit more about the schedule, or you can always watch us on the replay. Until next time, have a good night.